All right, you're very welcome to the RTÉ Soccer Podcast. I'm Raf Diallo. We're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, RT.ie, or wherever you get your podcasts. Timestamps for every episode are under every video on YouTube and on RT.ie/sports. I'll be joined by Shelbourne's Rachel Graham later, where we'll discuss, among other things, the shock resignation of Athlone Town manager Colin Fortune on a huge week for the club when they're about to play a big European first leg. But right now, we're going to talk about the boys in green with Stephen Kelly and Richie Towell. Lads, how are you?
Oh, good, Raf.
Better.
Yeah, good stuff. In a half decent mood. I was very worried at halftime on Saturday what this podcast was going to be like, but obviously Evan Ferguson and Adam Ida scored a couple of goals. Hungary lost a player to a red card, Roland Salai, who had scored their second goal, and that was after Barnabas Varga had opened the scoring after just 2 minutes. And Stephen, we'll talk about psychology of it very shortly after we listen to Hamer Hallgrimsson and also to Caoimhín Keller speaking to Tony O'Donoghue, because the psychology of it was something that was brought up by the manager himself. But that first half performance, tactically speaking first, what went wrong from your perspective?
I think tactically it was bad, but I think individual performances. I think you have to. Sometimes you set your team up, and I don't think there was that many tweaks. I think change your personnel second half, energy, pace they brought to the game. But I feel there was just individual errors, like switching off, and then it kind of was almost like it become habitual between the squad that they were just making mistakes. Like early on, you see Doherty gets done, and then the two centre backs get caught in position. You're going, well, what's going on here? Why is the communication? And it's almost like we just started really slow. And fortunately enough, we were able to get back into it. But like at half time, if you're going off social media and going off thing, and we were dead and buried, like there was no chance. But then to be able to turn that around the way they did was really impressive. So two sides to it. Horrendous first half. Absolutely, defending was really poor. Really, just a lack of concentration was unbelievable. And the legginess, we look so leggy. And I'm going, how is that possible? This is the first game in a qualifier. We should have been all guns blazing, but there was this almost like just innate ability to be able to run, and then to change around the second half and to become polar opposite. So, it is almost a game of two halves, and like that's exactly the bit worst ever cliche, but that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, and let's listen to Caoimhín Kelleher first, and then the manager Hamer Hallgrimsson as well, on the poor start and not winning enough duels as well. They were both speaking to Tony O'Donoghue.
We talk a lot about mentality with this team. Is it the fact that it was a huge occasion, a full house here at the UEFA Stadium and a lot riding on it? Do you think that affected the mentality of the players?
Not that I would say. I know the lads in there. I know that they're used to big occasions like this anyway. It's just disappointing from us from the start. But listen, we came back really strong in the second half. I thought we did really well, and that's all you can do.
Tonight, to start like that, your World Cup was almost over after 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's something that has happened in recent games. We've kind of, I'm not going to say not started the game, but it's sloppy in duels. Both these goals were from not winning our duels in the beginning of the game, and 2-0 down in 15 minutes is tough, really tough. And we have already addressed that. We will address that again, but this cannot happen at this level, to be sloppy in duels.
But it's happened before. I think it's becoming a pattern. I think in 8 of the 9 competitive matches your team have gone behind. Now they have come back, and that's the resilience you talk about, but that's something that keeps happening.
Yeah, and that's in my opinion more psychological than lack of quality. So we need, like I said, we need to address that, and I accept that. That maybe it's something in my preparation or how we talk before the game, but it looks like we are losing too many duels in tough situations. So absolutely not that we wanted to do.
Was the build up too much pressure? Was the week too big? Everyone was talking about mentality being better, but it was a big prize, the start of the World Cup, and so much was riding on this game.
Yeah, maybe it's, like I said, something psychological, but we will never fix that now. Hugely disappointed to have only 1 point from our first game, and especially in front of this fantastic crowd. They were magnificent today, and thanks to everybody that showed up and supported us. Saying that, I'm proud of the guys in the second half, how they came back from this defeat. It's not easy, this level, to come back from a 2-0 down, even playing against 10 men. So hugely proud of their performance second half, and the effort they put in. Absolutely outrun them, fought them. I think we had 40 crosses in the game. Should of course have scored more goals, but Yeah, I need to be happy, must be happy with the effort and the character they showed in the second half.
Right, so that is Hamer Hallgrimsson, Republic of Ireland manager, and before that, Caoimhin Kelleher, both speaking to Tony O'Donoghue after the match, when of course they had come from 2-0 down at half time to draw 2-2. And Richie, the poor start, it's kind of a little bit of a chicken and egg thing, because the way that goal went in, the first goal that Hungary scored went in so early, 2 minutes in. Was it as bad a start, or is it the thing that the goal changed the game a little bit? That's going to be a harder thing to read, I suppose.
No, it was an absolute disastrous start, Raf. Do you know what disappointed me most? They were 2-0 down after 15 minutes, and Slobosai went in between the two Hungarian centre halves and was just rolling the ball with his studs. You had Ferguson and Finn Azaz that were sitting off, and I was thinking, we're 2-0 down here after 15 minutes, and the boys are still sitting in a shape, and what are you waiting on? The crowd was after bringing a brilliant atmosphere to start the game, and you're thinking, feed off that, go out and press them high and go for the game. Like that's what the Irish people wanted. It was the absolute opposite. I was thinking, we're 2-0 down here and we're still sitting in our shape. And it only really took until half time until the manager and his assistants were able to actually go in there and get the hands on player. And we actually spoke about it last week, didn't we, Raf? The amount of captains we have that's in the Ireland squad now. Where was the leadership there? Like, you go 1-0 down and you think, right, let's not go gung-ho, and you don't need to go chasing the game straight away, but you go 2-0 down, you need to come out and set a little bit of a marker out. Like, everybody speaks about formations and 4-4-2, we're going to play 5-3-2. It doesn't matter what formation you play, if you don't come out with an energy, a desire. Heimer spoke about winning duels. That's what you got to do. Bring an energy, go out and win some duels. And then when the game settles down, then you start to play a natural game. But absolute disastrous start, Raf, honestly.
Yeah, and like you say that's kind of leadership. If in that situation, are you looking at some of those leaders kind of going, look, let's just press up high, and whatever the manager said in terms of a plan, that has to go out the window, and we have to change tack a little bit here.
100%. Like, games have different scenarios from the first minute to the 90th minute. After a couple of minutes, if you see it's not working, which you could see as clear as day, what the Ireland team are doing wasn't working at all. That's where you need the likes of Nathan Collins or Josh Cullen, players who are out there on the pitch who like that, have these leadership qualities to say, lads, right, for the next 5 minutes, we're pressing them high. You'd get a couple of seconds when the ball goes out of play for a throw-in or for a goal kick, where you can get a message across the lads like, no, we're pressing high, we're bringing in energy. Try and get the fans back on side a little bit, because the energy was absolutely sucked out of the stadium. It was really disappointing. I couldn't believe what I was watching, honestly, in the first half.
Yeah, and then Stephen, in terms of the build-up to the game, there had been a huge amount of talk, I suppose, in the press conferences about like the Ireland players feeling a bit taller than they have been in previous campaigns, and like even trying to think of the build-up, let's say, to Euro 2012 as well, like before that Croatia game. Can a big build-up to something have a sort of detrimental effect within a squad as well, where you can get a little bit too high at times?
And if you can see it in first minute, that's what makes the difference, isn't it? Like, it's not the build up to a game is amazing. Like, that's almost the part you can almost enjoy about it. You can kind of get the sense of what the occasion, what it is, and like the funny thing about this is this is a World Cup qualifier. It's a major event, but I'm not for when the manager's like, get in the crowd. I don't think you need to do that with Irish fans. I don't think you need to come out and have like a social media presence. I get it. I understand that's the way the world works now, but I don't think you need to say, listen, everybody be a voice and be there. Listen, the restart off, and after 5 seconds, someone goes out and absolutely nails someone. The crowd in Ireland are going to be behind you. Like that's what it takes. And I know that sounds it's so barbaric almost in the sense, but for Irish football and what you want, if you go out with an intensity and you have someone that just lays a marker down early on, everybody else will be around you. Like, I can't tell you how much the Viva will lift the roof lift off the place when someone makes a tackle. And exactly what you're talking about is that if as soon as they were running around the ball and getting easy position, someone needs to just go, right, I'm going to lead by example. And yeah, we could talk to the guys, get to do something, but if I go and actually impact the game and do something, like, your actions speak so much louder than words. Just some sort of reaction to what's going on, show your frustration, and then everybody comes up behind you. But yeah, the build-up was huge, and I think people taking Hungary for granted a bit slightly as well. Like, they're a decent side. They've got some wonderful players in the team. They're ranked almost 30 places ahead of us in the world rankings. So to go at home, I would have expected us to win. I think with this group of players, we're capable of beating them at home, and the second half showed that. Once we have once we go about our business with pace and energy and the desire to get forward and get after teams, we can make it a real fortress back at the Aviva. But that was lacking in the first half, and I'm delighted they came back from it, but it just feels like a missed opportunity, because you feel if you did that for 75 minutes in a game, and you don't even have to do it for 90, you did it for 75 minutes a game, you go and win that match, and you win it because you've frustrated them and they can't get the rhythm of the game where they want to pass and move around and get out to Kyrgyz on the left back to whipping balls. You have to just cut those moments out.
Yeah, and even on the psychology question as well, because again, something he kind of brought up, and he kind of questioned his own preparation as well. But when we talk about team psychology, we almost think of it like it's a singular hive mind, but at the same time, we're talking about a number of individuals. So it's like everyone's psychology is in a different place. Like generally in a dressing room, how does that dissipate across a team? I suppose from your own experience.
It's hard because the season started and everybody's in a different position. Fortunately enough, at the moment, we have a lot of players that are in good shakes. They've started off well with their team, so they're not coming into it not playing. A lot of them have played a lot of minutes. They've got well. Like even Evan, he's back up to a position. Like honestly, his movements for in the first half, where he took the chest and went across the play and hit it. I'm like, that's Evan Ferguson at his best. That's him being able to pin two players, move the ball, get away from him, and get a shot. And I'm like, so that if we can feed off the players that are actually getting minutes in their game, the psychology can spread and the confidence goes throughout the group. And sometimes Ireland can be an amazing outlet for you if you're not going well. You can come in and think, right, back into the lads, back into the group, in for 2 weeks, and then I can get all the frustration that I've had with not playing club football to come out. So, the psychology comes hugely into it, but I think once one or two players start to do things well, and that feeds within the group. I think the other thing as well, the pressure when going down because of what's happened recently and being out of World Cup qualifiers and European qualifiers really early on, that is something that's going to stay with this group because it's happened a lot. So when they conceded early, you could see there was just the energy was drained. They were just, and then the whole fan base thought, here we go again. And you could just feel that around the place. You could see it. But then to get that lift and go back in, the manager to regalvanise them, I think it was really impressive the second half.
Yeah, and then when you look at Hungary as well and how they played on that, Richie, I mean, on one hand, they're really streetwise in terms of the time waste and stuff. I don't know if we necessarily do that ourselves when we play against teams where, you waste time when you feel like you need to. And then on the other aspect as well, the two Hungarian goals, as well as they were playing, they weren't great goals in terms of like team play either.
Listen, the Hungarian team, they're excellent. As Stephen said, they're 30 places ahead of us, and that's for a reason. And it was quite evident to see it in the game, especially in the first half. The thing is, you see the difference in the second half, Raf. Then, as Stephen said, you come out with a small bit of energy. You see, all it needs is one tackle. We're probably one of the only nations in the world where you go out and smash somebody and you get a big cheer for it. You do. Like, you go and play against Spain or if you go and watch Portugal around these nations, someone goes out and makes a tackle, people are kind of looking like, oh, well, he probably could have taken the ball down and passed it there or whatever. This is a nation that's built on that. We're built on hard work. We're built on energy. We're built on a bit of graft. We are. Go out and show that. You see in the second half. The second half was incredible. I know I'm after being quite hard on the team and the manager in the first half, and I think rightly so. But you see the second half, then the contrast, it lifts the whole stadium, it does. And the energy that was in there was absolutely incredible. And the players fed off that. You could see. Now, I know I think we put 40 crosses into the box in the game. But like that, we were trying to create chances. And the Irish fans just absolutely loved it. Now, look, I think when you're actually looking at it now, there was times where you could probably work a little bit more overloads and create 2v1s out wide when they went down to 10 men. But as I said, Irish people just want to see the lads going out, giving it everything, putting balls into the box, trying to create chances. They don't really want to see this possession-based team that are tippy-tapping around at the back. That's not the way we are. It's never the way we have been, and it's never the way we will be.
Yeah, and there was a directness though, Stephen, at the same time in terms of how they tried to use one of the full-backs, particularly Jake O'Brien as well. And even before the second-minute goal by Hungary, that diagonal pass out to what is a physically imposing sort of centre-back playing out of position was something I think that was definitely in the game plan, at least in the first half.
Oh, listen, you have horses for courses. You have to play to your strengths. You really do. And you have to look at what you're putting on the pitch and think, right, how can this player affect the game in a really positive way? And it's straight from the Tony Pulis playbook. It's sticking a centre back or right back, and Jake O'Brien has adapted to it really well. But if you're going to put him there, he's not going to be Seamus Coleman in his prime, marauding forward, taking fullbacks on and putting crosses in, But if you hit Diag out to him, there's every chance he's going to beat the small fullback at the back post. So you have to take advantage of that. You have to set your team up in a way. And when you've got Ryan Manning with a left foot that can deliver and people out there, you play to those strengths and you listen to that obviously it's a tactic you work on. You go, right, let's get him forward as high as we can. Let's play those diagonal balls and then let's feed off the breakdown. And I think when we were playing the ball before, the second balls we weren't getting. You could just tell we weren't on that. Whereas in the second half, as soon as we went out there or went forward, 2 or 3 players up the pitch, getting around and winning the back, and then you got another phase to play because you've won back the second ball and it's in their half instead of tippy tappy around their back. And I think, like Richie said, Irish fans, they don't want it to be overcomplicated. They want us to play in the other team's half and often as we can, make it exciting. And it sounds crazy. It sounds like it's a throwback, but it's not. It's effective football and it's effective in the way that we can get results. And I think Hamer has bought into that. I think he's looked at it and go, you know what? We have a very effective squad. Most of these players have played championship level and above and gone on. And championship is, Richie, it's just wham bam. It's literally in your face, kick, tackle, hit, and it's relentless. And those players have that innate ability to do that. Most of them are playing Premier League now, but they've started out and got their way to the Premier League. So let's use that energy and how dynamic we can be and how physical we can be to go and imposing this. Because I think Hungary, if you're going to go into a tippy-tappy passing game, they're better than us.
Yeah. Yeah, and Hungary, even in the second half, even after the red card, they did have moments where like Queven Keller had to come up with some unbelievable saves as well. But it was interesting. Shabashli was kind of everywhere. I think you mentioned it earlier. He was almost the quarterback. He's picking the ball up between the Hungarian centre backs. He's popping up further up the field. He obviously takes the corner that leads to the second goal. But his influence, he was a lot less influential, obviously, in the second half when they were down a man as well, and also because there's just that less space when Ireland were further up the field.
He was incredible in the first half. Like as you said, Raf, he was that quarterback that was starting every phase of play. And you were kind of thinking one of the Irish players, go on and just go in and nail him and just set a little bit of a marker down for the game. Obviously, I think as soon as the sending off happened, he couldn't be that player to drop in because there was such a big hole in the midfield. So we kind of had to be a little bit more disciplined. I actually thought Hungary defended their box incredibly well. As I said, we put like 40 cross in the box, and we have some big boys there. We deal with the likes of Nathan Collins, as you said, Jake O'Brien, Evan Ferguson, all Adam Ida when he came on. Big, physically imposing players. I thought they defended the box really well. So yeah, look, it was a good result in the end when you see where we were from half time. But it just makes the next game against Armenia a must-win game, Raf.
Yeah, and then the red card itself, the Roland Salai thing, because it was a weird moment of madness. Obviously, he felt like he should have had a. Sorry, say that again, Richie.
Very petulant, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very strange. It was a very strange moment in that moment. I'm not sure what the Hungarian newspapers are saying about it, but it was one of the moments where the game kind of turned, obviously, because it had gone 2-1 at that stage. But I don't know, was there a thing also that kind of the atmosphere as well can get to a player and they just kind of lose control?
It almost felt that it's almost like he felt that the crowd and everything was influencing the referee, so he didn't get the foul, and then he's like, and then there's just that split second where you lose control, and like it wasn't horrendous tackling. So Dara Shea had way worse, you know what I mean? I'm sure he has, but he dealt with it. He took it well. He went down, took the foul, and that changed the game. That absolutely changed it. Ferguson's goal was massive, but that moment you could just see there was a momentum shift, and we just thought, right, let's go and use our numbers and get after them. And it was a different game after that. Like I said, the amount of crosses, and I do give them credit. I think the amount of crosses they dealt with, first contact from them was unbelievable. And to be honest, I'm looking at going, listen, when we go right to Hungary, that's going to be a really tough match. Like going into this, we're like, we can qualify. And I fully believe we can. I think if we play like in the second half, we'll give anybody a run. If we play like against Portugal at home, Portugal will be taken back a bit. They won't be able to play their game. I'm not saying we beat them, but I'm saying that's how we need to play to go. And before we'd always get a result against a big nation. We'd beat a Holland or it was a Portugal or someone we pop up, and it was because we played like that. And that second half performance is how we were able to get one of those wins over the line that was enough then to get us through to a qualification or to a playoff. But Hungary's going to be tough away from home. Like, they keep the ball really well. That's going to be their home crowd. And listen, they're no slouches. They're used to physical challenge as well. Like, you come from that part of the world, you're no shrinking minnow, are you? So it's not going to be an easy match, but we have to play at that level. We cannot drop that standard. And this Armenia game is huge. Like, we were there. I was there last time. And that goal went in, and I was like, oh my God, what's happening? This is all over again. Another goal from distance. We cannot have that capitulation. We cannot have that ability to just go and put what was a sensational second half performance and not build on it.
Yeah, and in terms of getting the draw against Hungary on Saturday, Richie, the use of the substitutes as well. I mean, Chiedozie Ogbene seemed to have a positive impact. Maybe not, his touch is obviously a little bit rusty as well, but again, he was almost that kind of far post player as well in terms of when the ball goes across, and that kind of helped create a couple of chances.
Yeah, but that's exactly where he should be, Raf. Like, if I'm a manager, any of my wide players, I'm telling, if the ball's on getting crossed in from one side of the box to the other, you've got to be in there. You're never going to score if you're hanging out the back, out really wide. So you've got to be in there. But as you said, Raf, he came on, he had a big impact. And why? As simple, Ogbene brings in energy, he brings in enthusiasm. And as soon as he comes on, the Irish people get a lift to do, because you see, he gets the ball, the head goes down, and he wants to go past someone and create something, which is exactly what we're going to need, especially going over to Armenia. It's going to be really, really interesting, isn't it, Raf, to see what sort of formation and what sort of players Heimer goes with against Armenia, because obviously you see when Ogbene comes on, he does really well. Mikey Johnson, Casey McAteer, you could have them on either wing as well. I think Ferguson up front, he was very, very isolated against Hungary. Finn Azaz was trying to do little dropouts into the pockets, which, listen, I could see Hungary were trying to clog up the middle of the pitch, so to have a little dropout was probably a good idea, but as soon as it doesn't go there, he needs to get up and get closer to him. Adam Ida comes on and scores a vital goal for us. So I would love to see probably Ferguson and Adam Ida up front together. So yeah, it's gonna make a must-win game first and foremost, but obviously very intriguing to see what Heimer does going forward.
Yeah, and Adam Ida, Stephen, has been, it's a huge moment for him. And again, another, like, he scored against Bulgaria as well. He's up to 6 international goals, but he's coming off a really difficult, club situation over the summer. He's joined Swansea, which is a fresh start. But even today, there's quotes you can read on the RTÉ website. He was just talking about that period at Celtic where he never really felt accepted by the fan base, and he kind of describes it as torture, which is obviously kind of like a difficult thing to deal with. So this is a huge, huge moment for him, for a player maybe who's just going through a rough patch, and this international break is obviously something that'll give him a bit of a boost as well.
Like I said, sometimes international breaks come at the perfect time for you as a player. Things may have not been going well at club, but there's a sense of there's a lovely thing coming home. There's just a lovely thing when you come home and you're back in Ireland and you have that group, and it's just the banter with the lads is different. Even though I know it's English clubs to club, but it's just there's something really nurturing about it when you come back in with the Ireland squad, and that can be really beneficial, almost therapeutic to some players, because that's where they feel most comfortable. So for him, I think it's really important. I think Celtic, it's tough. It's a goldfish bowl. It's an absolute goldfish bowl up there. You're either the star, and everything is analysed within an inch. Like, it's relentless, and because they're expected to win everything, and you're expected to, if you're a centre forward up in Scotland, you're expected to score 30 goals a season. Like, that's a given. Like, that's what they expect from them. Adam's not that striker, I don't think. I think Adam will come up with crucial goals, but I think his strengths are his running and his pace, and I think if he sticks to those things, if he nurtures that, he can be a real foil for us. He can be so important. And then coming on and getting that goal will do him the world of good. Listen, the striker getting a goal, Rich, it's like the lads just they could be on top of the world. Then, like, midfielders and defenders are slightly different. It does lift you, but it's not gonna dictate your season. Where that could be the catalyst for Adam. You know what I mean? Just
to touch on what Stephen said there, I went to watch Celtic playing against Hibs in December. December just gone, and I couldn't believe what I was watching with Adam up front. As Stephen said, normally you would associate that, the running, the pace, the power, with Adam Ida. And I went to the game with a couple of my friends, and I said, I fancy Adam Ida to grab a couple of goals today. And I couldn't believe what I was watching. He looked so lethargic. It looked like everything was an effort. There was balls going into the box. He was standing on the edge of the box, and he missed a couple of chances early on, and you could see the head was going down. The fans were getting on him, because it's a real goldfish bowl in Glasgow, especially when you play for Celtic or Rangers. And you could see the head was going down a little bit. And I said to my friends after probably about 20-25 minutes, I said, this is not going to be a good day for him. And he was really, really poor on the day. There was a couple of bills when he got taken off and stuff like that. So I felt really sorry for him. So you could kind of see probably the mind frame he was in even then, and that was in December. So for him to get the move to Swansea, I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant for him. As Stephen said, coming home to play for Ireland, it's like you're playing with all your mates. It's the best thing in the world. He's obviously had to score a crucial goal. his confidence is going to be sky high now. It would have been on the floor a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be sky high now. That's how quickly football can change. So I think we should utilise that as well straight away against Armenia.
Yeah, and he'll be involved in some capacity against Armenia, which is obviously tomorrow, Tuesday, slightly earlier kickoff time. So we're going to have it live on RT2 and the RTÉ Player from 4:30. Kickoff is at 5. Radio commentary on RTÉ Radio 1 Extra at 4:55 p.m. and then a live blog on rte.ie/sports. So clips of goals and things that will pop up there as the game goes on. Now, Armenia are coming into this off the back of a 5-0 home defeat to Portugal. João Felix with a couple of goals. Somebody called Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't think people know too much about him. Scored a couple of goals. So he's up to, I think, 140 international goals now, which is just a ridiculous number. And then João Cancelo also. And Armenia lined up in a 5-3-2. Now, we didn't get a chance to get a real look into them for this podcast like we did with the Hungary team. But from a few years ago, I remember chatting to Setanta Sports Eurasia's Armenia journalist and commentator, Robert Gasparian, who kind of lulled us into a false sense of security at the time because he was talking about all the problems Armenian football had. And then we lost 1-0 in the heat in Yerevan, I think, which you've mentioned already, Stephen, in terms of being out there. But while their recent record is poor, they've won once away in Latvia in the last 9, and only one player in their squad is in the Big 5 leagues. But Stephen, I suppose it still could be extremely awkward, regardless of all the build-up I've given them there.
Yeah, potential banana skin, absolutely, but if you have any aspirations to qualify for a major tournament, this is a game you have to go and win. Just win it. It doesn't matter if it's horrible. It doesn't matter if it's back to basic. It doesn't matter how you got about it. You just need to go and get that win, and that's all that counts at this stage. You've drawn against Hungary and you've pulled yourself back from the precipice of defeat. You're so close to losing that game, but you put in a performance, you get it back. Build on that. Go there, get a win, get in and out. Listen, the journey is a big one. It's far. It's going to be hot. The pitch is not going to be great. Everything you expect is going to be expected, but you deal with those. They're on the same pitch as you. You have to be able to just get on with it and make sure you come away, be resilient, and get someone to come up with a goal. Maybe 1 or 2 would be nice. If it was a comfortable afternoon, be lovely, which we never seem to do, but that'd be very nice to witness and commentate on. But last time I was out there, they hit one from 25, 30 yards, and I was on comms, and I just stopped talking. I was like, all right, it's back. What do we do? What do I say now? And it was and then we just couldn't get ourselves back. And I think that's a difference. So we have moved on slightly from that. Whereas one goal was just, we fell off a cliff. Whereas you see, against Hungary, we conceded 2, resolved, get back in. In-game management has been better. We've been able to adjust things, make substitutes. I think there's been a lot more positivity with the manager going, right, come off, you're not doing it. Someone else is going on. You're still useful, but you need to go and make an impact. And I think that's been better. So, if it doesn't start well, I have faith that we can bring it back. But, let's go away, get a comfortable win and get ourselves back in the position where we can qualify.
Yeah, and then the heat that you mentioned, Stephen. So Richie, I was looking at the temperatures. That was a big issue in the 2022 game. I remember our own Tony O'Donoghue having to do his sideline reporting in a pair of shorts because it was just that hot, which wouldn't be his usual garb. Yeah, it was a tough one. And I've looked at the temperatures in Yerevan, so they're high 20s. So in terms of managing that tempo, it's going to be tricky enough in terms of when you kind of look to raise it, Richie.
Yeah, it is, but if you start the game still back the way we started it against Hungary, Armenia will take the lead against us. I've no doubt about that. You can't come out and show that lack of energy and lethargicness in any game. It doesn't matter who you play against. So I think it's very, very important that we come out and start the game really well. I think then when it settles down, listen, Ireland, I think will have the lion's share of possession. I've no doubt about that. Then you can kind of take this thing out. But it's really important that you come out and you put a marker down. Like, no, we're continuing on from where we left off against Hungary. High energy, balls into the box, lads full of enthusiasm. I think if we start the game like that, then it will naturally have a little dip, and you will get big spells of possession, I'd imagine. But this is really a team that you need to go and try and come out of the traps early and go against them. They've conceded 21 goals in the last 5 games, which is a ridiculous amount of goals to concede. So you can see it's a team that's really low on confidence, that you need to come out and really go all guns blazing early doors. They haven't won a game in 2 years as well. So I really hope I'm not putting the mockers on it now. And this will be their first win in 2 years. But it's looking like it should be a pretty straightforward win for Ireland. Listen, I know the heat, but like that, you're not in mid to high 30s. It's 20 odd degrees. Like it's
It's not perfect, isn't it? Like, it'd be nice to go and playing that. Get a bit of sun on your back. It'd be lovely.
It's better than playing in the wind and the rain over here.
It's actually, it's funny though. Armenia, it's a they have a little bit of a grudge with us, the Armenian and the press, because we back when I was playing, Thomas Cox scored a goal and it potentially could have been disallowed. And at that time, that was like their highs. I think Mkhitaryan was playing. I'm sure Mkhitaryan.
Yeah, Mkhitaryan was around at that time. Yeah,
they had like 4 or 5 like world class players playing with them, and they felt this is their chance of qualifying. And we nicked a goal and probably should have been disallowed. Maybe potentially it was like a handball in the build up, and there was always been this kind of a bit of like resentment against us for their group or golden generation not achieving because we kind of stifled it. So I think when we come to them, there's a little bit more added spice to this game for them than what we don't see it. But like, you know, you always hold a grudge against a nation for whatever reason. I think they have one against us, so I don't think it's gonna be all plain sailing. I think they'll be physically after this, and that always gets brought up in the media when we're out there. You could see it was in the press before the last game as well. So yeah, there's gonna be a bit of spice.
Yeah, I think I remember talking to that journalist I mentioned earlier, Robert Gasparian, about that as well. And yeah, there is it's obviously bigger for them than it is for us. As always, these things are. I think even like the French don't think about the Thierry Henry thing. Yeah. We certainly. I mention it every year, or whenever France comes up, or whenever I see him on screen doing punditry. It's just like, you just zone in on that hand. But anyway, in terms of there will be changes to the team anyway, because Sammy Smodic, Richie, is out of this game with a knock. Josh Honan has been brought into the squad. I'm sure you're delighted to see that. Whether he's involved or he starts, it looks fairly unlikely. But other than, say, having Adam Ida beside Evan Ferguson, any other changes that you'd like to see?
Yeah, look, realistically, I don't think Josh is going to come in and go straight into the starting 11. I think he'll even be lucky if he gets onto the pitch. That's what I said. Hoyman has big decisions to make. Does he revert back to Matt Doherty as a right back, or does he keep Jake O'Brien there? I think I thought Ryan Manning was brilliant in the game. I thought everybody was really poor in the first half. I thought he was excellent. I thought his energy up and down the left was brilliant. He put some great balls into the box. It obviously is dangerous now from free kicks as well. So I think he'll be nailed on to start. Like that, like, does he change the formation slightly? It's up for grabs, isn't it? I'd love to see Ogbene on one wing and probably Mikey Johnson on the other wing. Have Cullen and Knight in midfield, and then put Adam Ida and Evan Ferguson up front. That's just the decision then that he has to make. Does he put Matt Doherty in right back, or does he keep Jake O'Brien? But I think Stephen mentioned it. Just keep it simple. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be complicated. Go there, have 2 boys up front that are in great form at the moment. 2 lads that are full of confidence. Go up and get the ball up to the lads and play off them and bring an energy and intensity. And I've no doubt we can win the game if we do that.
Yeah, and just on the full back position, Steve, and particularly the left back position, Brian Kerr was a little unsure in terms of the, Matt Doherty's, just from listening to him on the TV last night, in terms of Matt Doherty at left back, that apart from like a lack of urgency, he's obviously better on the right hand side. And then there's the question of Ryan Manning, who Hamer Halgrimsson sees as a kind of more of a left winger than a left back. But what do you think of that left back position, and what you would hope to see in terms of either a change or sticking with what they did on Saturday?
I think he changed. I think Manning goes to left back. I think against Armenia, you can have a more adventurous fullback in the match. I think you can, and if you're going to play Jake O'Brien, Jake O'Brien, he's going to get 4 for those on ball stuff and all, but you just revert to a 3. You almost have an offside, a lopsided defence where Manning can go forward and be like a winger, and O'Brien can just sit if he needs to be. If we're dominating things, O'Brien can go forward and join in. But if you have basically 3 centre backs sitting there that can cover the distances, I think that works really well, especially if you're going forward in possession. So I think Manning at left back starts. I don't think Doherty plays. I think Matt's just, I think he's capable of being wonderful, and then sometimes his energy can be low and he can look just, it's almost like he has a lapse of concentration, and when he's in those moments, and it can cost you. And he got caught for just being that playing us offside. Just didn't get out, and that was really early on in the game, so just lapse of concentration. But I think for this match, you start Manning left back, you give us an extra winger, have those 2 go and attack a bit more, O'Brien right back, and then I think Ogbene, if you get 45, 60 minutes out of him going gung-ho and just really pinning the back, and then bringing someone else on to be able to cause problems. But if you have them playing, I think you've got every chance of delivering balls into the box, getting good early possession, high up the pitch, and being secure as well, because you've got those defenders that want to defend. So I think Manning starts left back, and I don't think it changes, Brian.
Yeah, and I know you're a big fan of Bossum Lawal, who was in the squad. Very unlikely that he would be starting at all because he hasn't been capped yet. But if the circumstances were right, would it be a game where, like, if we, and this is a fingers crossed, hopefully we're in a position like that, but if we were like 2-0, 3-0 up, that you would love to see a player like him just sort of eased in at that point where a game is essentially won.
Yeah, I'd love to see him play. I can't see it happening. Even if you're comfortable, I don't think, unless the centre backs get a knock and you're going to replace him, I don't think you replace your centre backs for a game. Just it's too risky. I think they're not the positions you want to take out. Those two
But
secure.
like even in midfield,
Yeah, so midfield potentially. I think Bossum will be great if we played a three in midfield. If you just set him in front of the back and I want the two in front, but then you change the dynamics of it because you're going who you want one that can sit back in, but one that's more creative. So if you played a tree with Boston, say Cullen and Finn Azaz in a tree, then you're changing up, and he would be sensational in that position. I get hyped. I don't get hyped about many players, but this young, I don't know. Every time I see him, I'm like going, and I don't want to talk him up too much and he's had a really poor last season where he didn't play much and he's had injuries, and I'm like, just get a run of games, and show the potential. Because in moments I've seen him, and I don't even want to say who I think he's like from my personal experience of playing football, because that player is just exceptional, the best centre back I've ever played with, and I'm like, he shows glimpses of that to me, and I'm going, wow, if he can deliver and get to the levels I think he could be unreal. But it's staying fit and it's playing. You have to play every week. You have to play every week at the highest level, and then you might get a chance to get to what you can. But yeah, I'd love to see him get a chance.
it's high praise to claim he's like Ledley King. Am I right? Am I on the money?
And yeah, it's legacy. It's ridiculous because I'm like, there's so many similarities. It's actually crazy. I've not really seen a player like him before, and I'm like, oh, it's crazy how much he reminds me of him. And then I'm like, but I don't. Like I said, I want to whisper it. I don't want to say it because I have aspirations to him to get to that level. But unless you're playing every week, unless you stay injury free, unless you can fulfill your potential, that's not going to happen. And I just want to see him get regular game time, and then get into the Irish squad. But I think he has all the potential to be something really special.
Yeah, and Richie, I suppose finally on this, 4 point. If we get 4 points from this window, provided we beat Armenia, how optimistic are you then, kind of going forward? Because there's then the wild card of those Portugal games, and you're kind of questioning how many points do Hungary get against them? How many can we get against them? Again, it's all an unknown. Hungary at home have drawn against the likes of Netherlands and Germany in the last Nations League campaign, so they are tough even for Portugal to go there. And could we do the same? So if it's 4 points from this window, are you confident still?
If we have 4 points at the end of it, I think it's brilliant. Especially if you had said to me after 15 minutes against Hungary, you'll have 4 points after the Armenia game, I would have snatched the hand off you. So look, if we have 4 points after the Armenia game, I'll be really happy. I'll be really optimistic. Like as Stephen said, if you get even Portugal back to a packed out Aviva, a passionate Aviva, and you kind of have the identity, and listen, there's no doubt that Heimer has learned from the mistakes of the Hungary games. There's no doubt that the players have learned from that. So it could be a good time then to get Portugal back to the Aviva and have a right go off them. There's big concerns because Hungary are a really good side. They could have aspirations of going and beating Portugal in their place as well. So it's all if, buts and maybes at the moment. I think first and foremost, Ireland really need to concentrate on getting 4 points against Armenia, and then you can kind of roll into the next games full of confidence off the back of two decent results.
Yeah, obviously, Stephen, if it was 2 points, I think that would be, would be disastrous from our point of view. I think Armenia is the team that everybody wants to sort of rack up points, but 4 points, would you still be relatively confident with what's still to come in what is a very short fire campaign?
Yeah, no, to be honest, like when we got Hungary and Armenia, the first two games, everybody was like, "Oh, we have a great chance. We have a great chance to win." And I'm gone. You're underestimating how good Hungary are. You're totally not getting that this team is actually a very good side with some world class players. Like, I mean, Liverpool, two of Liverpool's best players are playing for Hungary. I mean, and they're champions. So I don't think going there is in any way something that's going to be given. I didn't think the game at home was going to be given. I think it's something we could win, and we would win if we played the way we played. And the talk beforehand about the crowd being behind us was a factor, because they're like, we want to intimidate them, we want to get them and make it so vocal and such a hard place to come and play and really be after them. So to come out with 4 points, I think is it's probably I don't say what you expect, but what you can expect from games against Hungary and Armenia, which would be amazing if you beat them. And then you have to just roll the dice. You have to roll the dice against one of these teams another time. Going away to Hungary, I don't want to say I'd take a point, but I probably would go. If we go point to point now, then I can think, you know what, that's not a bad result. And then you roll the dice against Portugal. You go at home. Let's see if we can get those extra numbers on the board against a team where you can just frustrate the life out of them, not let them get their rhythm. I know they've got world class players, like 40-year-olds think scoring goals ridiculous. But anyway, we got close before. They beat us 1-0. We saved a penalty. You know, there's moments where you can get against those big teams, but bread and butter, beat Armenia, then come back and then see what happens.
Yeah, and also just to note, we'll be showing the Ireland under-21s as European qualifier on RTÉ tomorrow, immediately after our coverage of the senior game. So we'll be showing that Ireland v Andorra under-21s with kick-off at 7:30 on RT2 and the RTÉ Player. So our Jim Crawford side won 2-1 in Moldova on Thursday, which was a hard-fought game. It was live on the RT News channel. Mason Media scoring a couple of poachers' goals as they came from behind. And then the other opponents in that group are England, Slovakia, Kazakhstan, and of course the Andorrans are the opposition tomorrow, as I said. And we'll be talking about League of Ireland here very shortly. So Stephen, thanks very much for your time. Myself and Richie are going to look ahead to some of the quarterfinals in the FAI Cup coming up now. Cheers, Stephen.
Cheers.
So we're going to talk some of the domestic matters now. So the FAI Cup quarterfinals are coming up this Friday and across the weekend, and then there's also a couple of League of Ireland games as well. On Sunday, Shelbourne beat Galway United 1-0 in the league. Harry Wood's penalty making the difference there. So Galway still kind of mired in terms of the stuff to think about relegation. Shels getting a crucial win, especially ahead of a busy period of European games after the international break to come as well. And the live game we've got in the Cup this weekend, it is on Friday night, 7 o'clock. Coverage starts. Drogheda United against Shamrock Rovers live on RT2 and the RTÉ Player. The other fixtures being Kerry against Sligo, Finn Harps against Cork City, and then on the Sunday, St. Pat's and Galway United meet in a 6 o'clock kickoff as well in the final one of those quarterfinals. And I suppose starting on the TV game, so Drogheda United against Shamrock Rovers, it's cup holders against the cup favourites. Rovers won 2-1 in Towell very recently against them, but it's not a fixture that necessarily will intimidate Drogheda at the same time as well because of the history they have in the cup from last season.
Yeah, look, it most definitely is. It's the current holders against most people's favourites, probably everyone's favourites, to be honest. Shamrock Rovers will probably think they've got the hard end of the draw going away to Sullivan and Lamb Park. I always hated going up and playing up there, Raf. It's so tight. The dressing rooms are tiny. The pitch is really tight. The fans are nearly on top of you. There's no space to take a throw in, a corner kick. So it's quite an intimidating place to go. And especially for a quarter final, I've no doubt that the fans will have that place absolutely rocking up there. Obviously, they'll feel a little bit hard done by after getting dumped out of European football this season. So they'll have targets for winning the cup again, or else trying to finish as high in the league as possible. It's going to make it a really, really interesting game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think every time Drogheda play, I think they're masters of the dark arts. They're brilliant at time wasting. I know it's probably horrible to say, but they slow the game down. They're good at time wasting. You'll see their goalkeeper will go down in the first half, second half. A couple of their players will go down with head injuries, so the game must be stopped. They'll try frustration on Shamrock Rovers, because if Shamrock Rovers get free flowing and they get popping the ball the way they can, I think it'll be a comfortable game for them. But I've no doubt Kevin Doherty will have his Drogheda team well drilled and ready to rock come Friday night.
Yeah, and then Kerry and Finn Harps, obviously both, as I said, away respectively to Sligo Rovers, or at home to Sligo Rovers and Cork City, and it's obviously going to be a free hit for both of those first division sides, but they're coming up against teams who, while they might be at the wrong end of the Premier Division table, are actually in okay form in both cases.
Yeah, both Sligo and Cork have been in decent form, and it's crazy to think that you can have two teams in the first division and you can have two teams in the Premier Division that are really struggling, and they could make it into the semi-finals, potentially even the final. So it goes to show, doesn't it, just the look of the draw at times. And I think if you're Cork City, I think you need to give the fans something to shout about down there. The fans down there are very, very passionate. They are, Raf. So I think they'll be a little bit demanding that they go and they win that game. Obviously, I think you see Sligo Rovers, the form they've been in brilliant form since they came back from the mid-season break. So I think you're going to see two quite comfortable wins. I think Sligo will win comfortably, and I think Cork will as well.
Yeah, and then the final game as well. So St. Pat's have a good cup record in recent years as well. And I suppose aside from Shamrock Rovers, they'll see themselves having a real shot at winning this trophy. But Galway United as well probably just need a spark somewhere, and they have the capacity to make things awkward for any side.
Yeah, I think this can save St. Pat's season. Look, it's been quite a disappointing campaign from them, Raf. They were a lot of people's favourites. The way they finished last season, they were like a steam train. They came into this season, and look, I think they've been in decent form of late, but they started the season so bad they did. So I think Stephen Kenny will have, if not both eyes, he'll definitely have one eye on winning the cup, because I think that can be the saving grace for them. I think Galway could be a good distraction for them. They've been in really, really poor form. I think they've only scored 6 goals in the last 9 games or something like that, which is just scary when you think about it. So for them, I think they're really after getting sucked into a relegation battle now. So it could be a good little distraction for them. I know they've had what happened to Ollie Horgan, God bless him. So look, they might have an external motivation there that they want to do it for Ollie and his family as well. So look, it's going to make for a really, really exciting round of games.
Yeah, and Galway off the pitch, they could be playing a handful of their League of Ireland fixtures at Pearse Stadium in Salt Hill next season after Galway GA gave the request a unanimous endorsement. The proposal, which has been approved by the FAI but requires rubber stamping by Croke Park, came about as Eamon DC Park is set to undergo drainage works next summer. United are unlikely to clock up many hours in Salt Hill, as the club have played just 4 home fixtures in July and August in each of the last 2 seasons, but it's good news for them in terms of having that relationship with the GA as well, and being potentially having use of the pitch next year. But I suppose the one league game that is on this weekend is Bowls against Derry City, which is second against third at Dalymount Park. And so it is a huge game in a certain sense, perhaps not for the title race in many ways, unless one of them wins it and then goes on an unbelievable run. But it's almost now become a thing of try and keep as far away from the chasing pack, especially with Shels winning, Pats potentially getting into form, Drogheda still being in that battle. So it's a big game in that sense, I suppose.
Yeah, for me, Raf, I think this is just a European spot race now. I think the league is done and dusted. Rovers are well ahead and they have a game in hand. As you said, if one of them do go on and win this game and put on an unbelievable run, I still see Shamrock Rovers just clocking up the wins that they need to. Shamrock Rovers have been in this position many times, and they always know how to get over the line. So I think in that aspect, I think the league is done and dusted. Both teams have been in really, really patchy form. They have, Raf. They win a game, they lose a game, they draw a game, they win a game. And that's kind of the form that both of them have been in. I think you see how tight it is between, you have obviously Derry, Bohemians, St. Pat's, Drogheda, Shels. It's really, really tight between all them. It is. So like that one team needs to grab the bull by the horns and be like, no, look, as you said, Raf, we're going to win and we're going to leave the rest of them in our tail lights to go and fight for the final places for the European spot. So really, really important game, Dalymount. I've actually been, as an ex-Rovers player, I've been in Dalymount Park too many times this season probably, but every time I've been there, Raf, the atmosphere has been absolutely electric. Honestly, it really has now. I've been really impressed with how the fans have got behind the players on the pitch. So I've no doubt that it'll be another rocking atmosphere against Derry this weekend.
Yeah, did you get a nice welcome whenever you're up in Dalymount?
I do have the cap on, the hood up. Would it be like this walking through? Hopefully nobody notices me. If they get a win, I can loosen the hood because I know they're all in good form. But I just try and go incognito going into Dalymount Park.
Ah, well, fair enough. Anyway, that is it for the domestic look. I'll be joined by Rachel Graham very, very shortly. But Richie, thanks very much for your time. We'll chat very soon.
Cheers, Raf. Thanks very much.
All right, delighted to be joined now by Shelbourne's Rachel Graham. Rachel, how are you? How are you keeping?
Good, Raf. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad now. Now, we were going to be starting off in terms of building in towards Athlone's first leg in the Women's Europa Cup against Glasgow City, but obviously yesterday there was that huge bit of news that their manager Colin Fortune has resigned, and the statement that came out from Athlone Town said, we can confirm that Colin Fortune has stepped down from his role as manager of the women's first team with immediate effect. The club has accepted Colin's resignation with disappointment, but also with gratitude for his work across a still ongoing historic season. The club will begin the process of appointing a new permanent manager and provide further updates in due course. As to the reasons why he's decided to resign, that isn't, that's not something he's commented on or the club has commented on, but judging on what he's done on the pitch in terms of where Athlone have had, it would be fair to say he's been a success in terms of following on what Kieran Kilduff had done over the previous 18 months.
Yeah, and look, that's kind of probably what's most surprising about this is how well Athlone are doing. And look, they're top of the table. They've cup semi-final this weekend, and they're playing, done so well in Europe. They've Glasgow this Wednesday and the following Wednesday. So it's just the timing of it. It's just so strange. Like it doesn't really make sense if you're looking from the outside in. But we only kind of see what happens 90 minutes on a Saturday. We don't know day in, day out what goes on in the club. And look, if you're trying to make sense of it, you maybe think, has there been a falling out or has there been an argument? Has new owners gone in? It's the only thing that's kind of logical about this. But again, it's just us speculating. We don't know. I guess you'll probably hear in the next couple of days what's really going on. But look, it's obviously not ideal timing, for Athlone and the girls going into all these games. It's hard to do it without a manager, but they just have to, I suppose, deal with it. I don't know if, the assistant is staying on. They haven't really given much information about it, whether he's gone as well or not. I don't know. So look, we'll probably see on Wednesday who's on the sideline, who's taking charge, but it just seems very abrupt, very strange. So look, I'm sure we'll hear in the next couple of days what really went on, but look, just possibly the worst timing to lose your manager, I suppose.
Yeah, it'd be difficult for the players, I suppose, because they'll have a blueprint and a plan, and then a huge European game, one of the biggest games they'll have ever had as players. Going to Glasgow, playing away from home against a top side that we talked about a bit last week, and then suddenly the person who's making the decisions, who's in charge, who sets the plan, is out the door. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like that before, but it must be hugely difficult.
Yeah, like not really, no. It's maybe you've not had a manager due to suspension and like the assistant will kind of step in, but I've never had a manager who's just so abruptly kind of walked away at such a important time for a team. So I don't really know how you deal with it. And look, sometimes players just, they're really resilient and just get on with it and it doesn't really affect them. And look, some players, reality is could be happy to see him gone. That's a new chance for me to get into the team. So look, I don't think anything drastic will change from the 11 that they've usually been playing in such a short time. But yeah, I just think, look, once you kind of go onto the pitch, it's your job as a player to win the game anyway. So obviously the build up and like your training and match day, pre-match speeches, all that will be changed. So it's just a bit of a strange, but I just think, Athlone, they performed really well all season. I don't think this is going to really kind of derail them as much as maybe you might think, but look, time will tell.
Yeah, because that Europa Cup first qualifying round, first leg, it's away from home this Wednesday, 7:35 p.m. kickoff. And what would have been my original question had this whole situation with the manager leaving not have happened, it would have been, would this have been a slight advantage to Athlone having the first leg away from home? But now with sort of that situation, it's again, it's very hard to sort of make any prediction or preview of it.
Yeah, and look, I think it is probably an advantage having your first leg away from home and in terms of you can kind of just be really clever about the game and you don't necessarily have to go and win it, just may set yourselves up, be hard to beat, keep yourself in the game, even if it's a 1-0 defeat, bringing that back home, it's still all to play for. I just think, don't lose the game in the first leg. That's the real kind of disheartening thing. And look, obviously we won't know what effect this will have on them of losing their manager. It might not affect them at all. It could have a big impact. We just don't know. But I think going away from home, I do think it's an advantage to just set yourselves up, be hard to beat, keep the score down, keep a draw, is a great result for them. If you look, obviously depending on how the game goes, if you can win the game, obviously you do that. But if it is a case where you're not, second best to Glasgow on the night and you come away with a draw, that's an excellent result. So look, I think it's an advantage. Obviously, all the travel and all, it could be a good distraction for them for all this stuff that's going on in the media and might not affect them as much. So look, we'll see Wednesday. I think it'll be a really good game. I think it'll be a tight game. And look, hopefully the losing their manager doesn't affect them too much because they've been doing so well up until now. And we know if they do come through this time, they do beat Glasgow, that Ireland will then have 2 places in Europe for next year. So even for Athlone, it's a lot to play for. But even for our league back here, there's a lot to play for too.
Yeah, and the other challenge they have as well, of course, playing these extra games in Europe is the rest and recovery. I mean, they were playing Shamrock Rovers, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. At the weekend, they won that. They also play Rovers again in the cup, as you mentioned, in a huge cup semi-final. They've this European game in between. Then they've another European game, the second leg against Glasgow the following week. So, how do you feel their squad, as I suppose, as a collection of players, how they're set up to deal with this huge spate of games?
Yeah, and look, that's obviously really tough. And look, I know it's not a long flight over to Glasgow, but still just getting on a flight, it just seems to kind of take your energy away. And look, I assume they travel today, probably train and rest tomorrow, then play Wednesday, and it's either fly back Wednesday night or it's Thursday morning, and they have to play another match Saturday. So it's a really tight turnaround, and all that travel does take effect on you. And look, they've managed it really well so far. They're 11. It hasn't changed a whole lot, so it is a lot on those 11 players. It's a lot on the legs, minutes wise, travel wise, training, and everything. It does take a toll. And look, they do have good, players on their bench as well. So it's not a case of, it's the 11 or nothing. They can make a couple of changes, but it is what's this their sixth maybe European game so far. It will maybe take a toll eventually, but look, we'll see. They've managed to deal with it so far, so good. So nothing to say that they won't be able to deal with it this week and next week.
Yeah, and then at the weekend they opened up a small gap at the top of the table after beating Shamrock Rovers 2-0. And from your own point of view as well, with going away to Galway United with Shelbourne, 2-1 defeat there, and then some of the other results as well. DLR Waves and Wexford drawn 0-0, Sligo Rovers and Treaty United drawn 2 each, and Peamount beating Waterford 5-0, and of course Bowes as well beating Cork City 2-0. Just on sticking to Athlone first. I think as you previewed last week, the game you had against Galway and then Athlone against Shamrock Rovers, these were 2 really tricky fixtures in the context of the title race. And Athlone getting their victory clean sheet is huge for them, but also the way the goals went in, I think they would have been glad that a lot, not so much gifted to them, but they were mistakes from Rovers that they were able to capitalise on.
Yeah, and look, you've seen that a lot. It's Rovers' mistake, but I'd give credit to Athlone. It only comes from the pressure that they put. Like if Kelly Brady doesn't close down the keeper, she just clears it with ease. And the same with Roisin Malloy. If she doesn't get the pressure on the defender, she doesn't get that opportunity. So I think it's a bit of both. I think, look, if Rovers are looking at it, it's they could have done a lot better and they could have just cleared the ball away a bit quicker. But Athlone, I think they do deserve a bit of credit. They got the pressure on. That's kind of their style of play, where they're really quick, put you under pressure and play at a high tempo. So, they got the results there. And if you're probably looking at their running for the end of the league, this was the game that was probably going to be the one where they might slip up, where it's, they might have one eye on the Glasgow game, and it's, a tough Rovers team. So, look, in fairness, they got the job done. 2-0, clean sheet, another, top of the table. And we've obviously slipped up in their game, which kind of opens the gap up a bit more, takes it out of their hands. So, look, on their end, they're getting the job done, and we've just, fallen short in the last couple of games.
Yeah, and the start of the Galway game, Galway obviously was a TV game as well, and they started really well. And Amanda McQuillan, from your point of view, had to, I suppose, be there for the rescue quite early on in that first half.
Yeah, she made a great save. She kind of pushed it onto the post, and it kind of trickled across the line. You're kind of waiting to see if it went in or not. But lucky for us, it went out for a corner and dealt with the corner there. But look, we obviously got 1-0 up down first half. I thought we were probably the better team overall in the first half, and second half then it was like the 46th or 47th minute we conceded, so pretty much straight away. And it's again a corner from us. It's disappointing. Then the second goal, again another corner. So it's if we're holding our hands up, it's just not good enough conceding from all these set pieces, these corners lately. So I think that's what's really hard about it, because you always look back and say, look, we could have done better there. We could have cleared the ball, or we could have maybe not given away the corner. And look, I suppose you can say that for every goal you concede, but I just think with set pieces, always that kind of extra hard to take. And look, we pushed on them for an equaliser, came close towards the end, but just couldn't get the job done. And now it's out of our hands, unfortunately. But look, we just have to keep focusing on ourselves, keeping the pressure on Athlone if they do drop points, make sure that we're there as well.
Yeah, because the Emma Doherty header for the first corner for Galway, that was to the far post, the Jamie Erickson to the near post. Like, when you're kind of reviewing that, then is it a thing of trying to overhaul how you deal with set pieces, or is it like tiny tweaks that you're looking at and thinking it's not a huge thing, but it just needs maybe just different markers against different players? Or how do you look at that?
Yeah, like it is, it's a hard, and I think for defending corners and set piece, it's just about having that will to win the ball and that want to win the header. It's not something that you can, like, obviously you can say, right, you'll take their most dangerous player, we'll have our tallest player marking their tallest player and stuff, but they just probably showed more of a desire to win the ball than we did in the box, and that's what's cost us the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then Megan Smith-Lynch forced a great save from the Galway keeper at the end as well, where she had to tip it over. But in the immediate aftermath, like, what was the mood? Because I suppose a defeat is a defeat, and particularly when you're in a title race, I mean, probably hits a little bit harder. But then also in the context of now a few days on, I don't know if you've got back together as a squad yet, but hearing the news at Athlone and that kind of uncertainty as to how does that affect them, like, what's the general mood around the place now?
Look, obviously it was, a really tough defeat for us. It's like I said, it just takes it out of our hands now. We don't have control of whether we win the league or not. It's we need Athlone to slip up in one of their games. So that's what's really tough to take. Obviously the mood is low. Travel back on the bus is very quiet. We're back in training tonight, so this will be the first time again. But look, you don't have time to feel sorry for yourself. You just, we've another game now on Saturday. We play DLR, so we just have to make sure we win that game and we don't slip up in any more of our games. So look, it is tough. It's obviously disappointing. We've, challenged for the title, the last number of years. This year has been the same, and to have it out of your hands, it's always really tough to take. But look, you can't lick your wounds, you can't feel sorry for yourself, you get on with it. And look, obviously the news about Colin Fortune, we can't really think about it too much. It's not in our camp, it's in their camp. We don't know how it's going to affect them. Like I said, some players could be happy, they could play even better. So look, we won't, put too much weight on it and think that they're going to fall apart, because I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, and even the DLR game again, they drew against Wexford, who've been sort of obviously top half and a few points behind yourselves, and then Sligo as well, getting a good point coming from behind against Treaty United. So at this point of the season, those sort of games, maybe on paper you'd be expected to win, but they look a lot trickier towards the end of the season.
Yeah, look, we've obviously, we've learned, and I've learned personally over the years, I don't think you can take any game for granted. Look, we've beaten DLR already this year, but look, we've had a tough game against Wexford as well in past. So if you're looking at kind of who's playing who and results, it's really hard to gauge from. So I just think for us, we're probably not playing our best at the moment, and that's what we need to worry about. DLR, they've had some tough defeats, but they've also had some good wins as well. So look, there'll be nothing taken for granted. We need to make sure we keep the pressure on Athlone as best we can. And look, Saturday, it's not taking anything for granted. It's not taking the foot off the gas at all. We'll be going and doing our best to win the game.
Yeah, and then even looking at the highlights of the Sligo Treaty games, Treaty seemed to dominate much of that game, but then Sligo popped up with the couple of goals to get a draw. And as Jessica Farry, who's the commentator on the LOI TV stream, said, I think Bella Fachini, in terms of the Treaty United, she doesn't score tap-ins at all. Like every goal she seems to score seems to be like an absolute worldie.
Yeah, and look, she's just won Player of the Month as well, and it's a player that we've spoken about. Yeah, we've spoken about previously. It's not a surprise, and she does seem she can shoot from long range as well. So it's something. They're playing Bows this weekend. It's something they're definitely going to be wary of, to not give her the space to take shots from distance. But look, she's definitely one of the players who's kind of stood out in this league so far. She's fairly new to the league, so a really good player. I'm sure teams will probably chase her at the end of the season, but look, she's probably been Treaty's best player, and she'll be their key player now in the semi-final. If they do make it to the final, she'll definitely be their key player.
Yeah, and that cup semi-finals was the first of the two semi-finals, both on this Saturday. So 4 o'clock kickoff between Bows and Treaty United, and this is really well poised. I mean, Bows got to the Avenir Sport All Ireland Cup, only missed out on it due to a penalty shootout. They've got Alan McAvoy, who seems to be in really good form, scored a good header at the weekend against Cork City. As you mentioned, Fachini has just won Player of the Month, scored again from distance, and they've got a range of players within their squads that are potentially dangerous. This getting to a final, I suppose, would be huge for either one of them, particularly the cup final, the FAI Cup final. But how do you see this one tipping the scales in terms of who has the edge? Because Treaty are higher up in the table, but Bows are, obviously, you've played them many times and you've seen how good they can be.
Yeah, like I think this is a really hard one to call. Look, they played each other before in the league and back in June, and Treaty won 2-1. So Treaty win, but it's a really tight win. So look, both teams are tricky. They have them key players like you mentioned, and look, Treaty are undefeated in their last 7 games, and Bows have been a bit up and down the last while, but they were on a good run for a while. And look, I think Bows are probably having the hurt of the cup final of the All Ireland Cup, and using that as maybe a bit of extra motivation to get themselves to an even bigger and better final. And look, they'll have some players in that squad who have played in that final before. They haven't played as a team, but I'm sure they have some players in there telling them what a great day it is, what an occasion it is. So they'll be definitely highly motivated. Look, I think both teams are probably on a similar level in terms of quality and talent. So I think it's going to be a really tough one to call. If I had to call it, I think I'd go maybe Bows would have win, just with the the legs they have, and such young players. They play at a good intensity. So I'll tip them to win, but I think it'll be a close game.
Yeah, and then the other semi-final, 7:35 p.m. kickoff between Shamrock Rovers and Athlone. Of course, as we said, they played each other just over this weekend just gone, so they're very familiar with each other. Throw in the Colin Fortune news into it. Athlone, of course, are a very much a cup team as well in terms of they've been to this. If they were to get to the final this time, it'd be a fourth one in a row. So from Shamrock Rovers' point of view, how do they look at this? I suppose given that they've played them so recently, that actually could be quite helpful in a way.
Yeah, like it can. Like you can look at it both ways, I suppose. It's, they have the mental edge now. They've just recently beaten you, or, you know where their threats are, what they're about. So look, it's, you can look at it either way. And obviously the Colin Fortune might take effect. They're going to play Glasgow this week and travel in between that. So they might be catching them at probably the best time they can possibly get at loan. So look, I think as well, if you're looking at the squad of Rovers at the weekend, Scarlett Heron wasn't in the squad. She wasn't even named as a sub. So whether she's injured or, has she gone away and signed for another team abroad? You don't know. So she'd be a huge loss for them if she's not back. And Jamie Thompson went off injured in the first half. She'd be a big loss as well. So, at Athlone, you're probably catching them at a good time. But if them two players are missing for Rovers, you're also catching them at a good time. And look, Athlone obviously have their eyes elsewhere. In Europe, they're trying to win a league, and this is all that Rovers have left. So they'll definitely throw everything at it they can to win. Whether Athlone need to kind of rest one or two after Wednesday, you might pick up a niggle or two. So you don't know, Rovers have never been in this final before, so extra motivation for them. It's a great day out, and like I said, teams or players in that squad who've played there before will know what it's about, and showing that motivation to the younger players and who haven't been there, and telling them how great of a day it is. So look, it'll be hard to call, obviously, if you're going off form and kind of, how well teams are playing, you'll go with that loan, but I just think all them external factors, you can't really say this one.
Yeah, obviously it's the cup, so literally anything can happen in these type of games. I suppose before we go, just the WSL, but particularly the WSL too. So Tara O'Hanlon has made the move to Sunderland, and now this is a huge Irish contingent there. So from, I suppose, our fans' point of view, that's probably the team to watch.
Yeah, like I think what I think 5 or 6 players
Yeah,
there now that are Irish.
five
So
now, I think. Yeah.
yeah, look, Tara O'Hanlon, she's a huge potential player that we have there. She's a left back, and she went to Man City in February of last year, and she still hasn't played a competitive game for them. She's really struggled with injuries, so I think this is the time for her now to kind of go play. And look, she wasn't in the squad at the weekend, so whether she's still injured, how close she is, I don't know, but she's definitely a player that we could really do it. She's one of our really talented players. The same with like a Jessie or Ella Malloy. These are really talented players that we have, but obviously Jessie has done her injuries and Tara has her injuries, so we're not getting the best out of these players. And I just think it's a crucial time for her now this is a great opportunity. And look, she's only there till December on loan, so she'll only get a couple of months there. But I think if she can get a lot of game time in them next 2 or 3 months, or how much she plays when she gets back from injury, she'll be a huge player for us, and we can get her up to speed and get her at that international level. She'll make a big difference for us in our international team.
Yeah, and Sunderland opened their WSL2 season with a 4-0 win at Sheffield United. Izzy Atkinson opened the score in 5 minutes before half-time. Marissa Shiva and Grace Maloney both started as well, but probably from an Ireland point of view, the other added, I suppose, good bit of news as well is Jamie Finn playing her first competitive match. And then when we think about October not being that far away, nice timing.
Yeah, definitely. And look, we've obviously spoke about it before on playing in that right back position where we have been kind of lacking a natural right back, where Jessie Stapleton was the last one to play there, and she's the centre half, and she's probably nothing else. So I think Jamie Finn, I'm sure Carla Ward is keeping a close eye on her and see how she's doing. And look, she did come on, but she came on centre mid, and obviously probably not where we're going to look to play her, but look, I think you can kind of adapt that way. If you can play centre mid, you can kind of adapt to play probably anywhere in the back four, to be honest. So I wouldn't be overly worried if she's not playing right back for her club. I think she might still be able to adapt and come into us. But look, she's the one that we've kind of been waiting on to get back fit, and it's been a long time now. She's done her ACL, well over a year ago. So, it's been a long time coming, but look, I'd love to see her back in the squad for October. Whether she can get back fully fit, 90 minutes fit, I don't know, but I'd imagine Carla is really kind of doing her best to get her back in the squad for October.
Yeah, and the other bit from that game there, Joy Ralph as well, who had signed for Sheffield United from Shamrock Rovers about a month ago. So she got playing as well. Like in terms of potential, like how big is it from her point of view?
Yeah, like she's another, high potential player that we had. She's played underage international, never really has played senior, so she's not at that level. But I think, look, she kind of shone when she was here playing for Shamrock Rovers, scoring a lot of goals. So I think going across to England and you're training more, you're playing at a better level, it's going to bring her on. So she's one definitely that we'd be keeping an eye on. Probably maybe not for the next couple of years. She's still very young, so I think she's gone at a good age. She'll get a lot of education over there. She'll improve loads over there. So she's definitely someone for the future, and she definitely has a lot of talent. So someone that I'm sure Carla as well is keeping a close eye on.
Yeah, definitely one to watch for the future. But that is it for this week's podcast. We'll be back next Monday when we'll reflect on the Boys and Greens international window, Athlone Town's first leg in the Women's Europa Cup, and the weekend's domestic league and cup action in men's and women's. So slán go fóill, and thanks very much, Rachel.
No problem, Raf.